"You're not in charge of the family anymore," my daughter said. And just like that, I knew I'd lost everything. I was standing in my own living room. My wife Lauren sitting on the couch, legs crossed like a queen. My two daughters beside her. My mother silent in the corner. And Steve, my best friend, with his arm wrapped around my wife. "You need to accept it, Ethan," Lauren said with that smug little smile. "Steve's more of a father to the girls than you ever were." The room spun. I looked into their eyes, cold, distant. My family, my blood, and every single one of them had betrayed me. They knew. They all knew. I didn't say a word. I turned, walked out of the house I built with my bare hands, and I vanished. By the time they realized what I was planning, I was already gone, and their world was about to burn. I spent that first night in a motel just outside town. One of those roadside ones with flickering neon signs and a front desk clerk who doesn't care if you check in with blood on your shirt. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I just kept hearing those words again and again in my head like a broken record. "Steve's more of a father to the girls than you ever were." I remembered the times I taught Emily how to ride a bike, how I used to braid Rachel's hair when Lauren was too tired. I remembered late-night ER runs, scraped knees, school projects, the dance recitals I never missed. I was never absent, never lazy, never unfaithful. But none of that mattered now. Not to them. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was emotional, psychological. My own blood had turned their backs on me. And Steve? Steve was a bartender. A smooth-talking charmer who barely held a job longer than a year. He'd been my best friend since high school, the guy I let crash on my couch when his girlfriend kicked him out. The guy who stood next to me at my wedding as my best man. Now he was King my wife. Now my daughters were calling him daddy. The next morning, I checked my phone. 118 missed calls. 47 from Lauren. 21 from Rachel. 12 from Emily. Even my mother had tried. I opened the last message Lauren had sent. "You walking out like that was immature. If you're going to disappear, at least be man enough to leave the keys. Steve's taking care of the house now." I stared at the screen. They didn't want me back. They wanted me erased. I threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. Just like everything else in my life. That's when something in me cracked. Not broke, cracked. A clean, quiet split between the man I was and the man I had to become. No more begging. No more waiting. No more trying to understand why. It was time for payback. I drove back into town around 3 a.m., quiet and invisible. I knew the codes to the garage. Knew the exact hour Steve would leave for his early gym sessions while Lauren stayed behind. I parked 2 blocks away and walked under the cover of darkness. Inside the garage, everything looked untouched. My tools still hung on the wall. The workbench I built was still there. But my spot, the left corner, was filled with Steve's beat-up pickup. I didn't go inside the house. Not yet. I opened the safe behind the tool cabinet, a place only I knew existed, and pulled out a lockbox. Inside was everything. Our marriage license, the kids' birth certificates, insurance papers, and a thick envelope of emergency cash I had been saving for a rainy day. Well, the King storm had come. I grabbed it all. Then I did something petty. Something small, but satisfying. I scratched his truck. A deep, messy gash down the driver's side door. Nothing too obvious, just enough to confuse and annoy him for weeks. When I left, I didn't look back. That same morning, I changed my number. Deleted social media. Transferred funds from our joint account to a private one she didn't know existed. I had been the one handling finances for years. She thought she was clever, but she didn't know me half as well as she thought. By the time Lauren woke up, the man she had spit on had disappeared like smoke. But I wasn't running. I was planning. She took my life. So now I was going to ruin hers. 3 days passed. Silence. No calls. No texts. No sudden visits from Steve trying to be the alpha man he clearly thought he was. I stayed off the radar, sleeping in my car, living off vending machines and gas station sandwiches, but watching everything. I wasn't just gone, I was hunting. Quiet. Patient. Focused. Lauren thought I was weak. She thought I'd crawl back, crying, begging for explanations. She didn't know me at all. On the 4th morning, I parked a block away from the house and waited. At exactly 8:15 a.m., Steve walked out, gym bag over his shoulder, AirPods in, cocky walk like he owned the place. Like he owned my life. I followed him. Not close. Just enough to keep him in view. He hit the same routine. Gym, smoothie bar, back home by 10. He was predictable, and predictable people are easy to break. Later that day, I checked the GPS tracker I had installed on Lauren's car a year ago when she kept working late and coming home with excuses. The same tracker she probably forgot still existed. At 6:40 p.m., her car moved. Destination, Hilton Garden Inn, room 317. Checked in under the name Jessica Ray. Jessica Ray, her old college alias. The one she used when she didn't want creeps at bars knowing her real name. That was all the proof I needed. This wasn't just betrayal. This was deliberate, premeditated treachery. I sat in my car across the street, lights off, engine running, watching her silhouette through the third-floor window. And then, Steve's truck pulled in beside her car. So he wasn't just playing dad. He was still sleeping with her. Of course, I wanted to storm in, grab him by the throat, and make him regret every breath he stole. But that wasn't the plan. Not yet. I wanted them to feel at first fear, confusion, chaos. Not a punch. A collapse. I started small. The next day, Lauren woke up to find her joint bank account frozen. Steve's gym membership canceled. Their shared Netflix, Spotify, Hulu, all logged out. House insurance flagged for suspicious activity. Power company alerted to unpaid bills. Everything I could touch, I touched. And then I made sure Steve got a text from an unknown number. You think you're safe in my house? You won't see me until it's too late. Petty? Sure. But the message was clear. I was watching. Later that night, I drove to my mother's house. Parked outside. Just sat there, engine running. The lights were on. I saw her through the window, laughing, drinking wine with Lauren and the girls. It wasn't just betrayal. It was celebration. I clenched the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. But I didn't go in. Not yet. The pain wasn't enough. Not for them. They needed something bigger. And that's when I decided. I wasn't just going to leave them. I wasn't just going to break them. I was going to erase myself from their lives so completely it would make them question whether I had ever really existed. I drove to the city that night. Checked into a cheap Airbnb under a fake name. Pulled out the envelope of cash. I had enough to live off the grid for a while. The revenge had started. Slow, creeping, silent. And it was only the beginning. The next morning, I bought a burner phone. No name. No ID. Just cash and a nod to the guy behind the counter who didn't even look up from his YouTube video. I set it up with one purpose, control. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to pull every string they didn't even know was still attached. I started with Lauren's job. She worked as a senior event coordinator at a boutique wedding agency, the kind that charges 20 grand for a rustic chic reception and centerpieces made of twigs and lavender. She loved that place. Bragged about it every chance she got. So I made a call. Not as me. As a pissed-off client. I told them Lauren had been using their brand to meet men behind her husband's back. Even described one of the hotel rooms she used during a corporate retreat. Then I sent photos. Nothing too graphic, just enough to raise eyebrows. Her and Steve walking out of that Hilton Garden Inn, arm in arm, her hair messy, wearing the same dress from the day before. By noon, she was suspended pending internal review. Steve was next. He was a licensed bartender, barely. I knew where he worked. A downtown bar that tried too hard to look classy, charging $16 for a cocktail and attracting the kind of crowd that wore sunglasses indoors. I waited until Friday night, when the bar would be packed, and I walked in wearing a black hoodie, face low, phone recording in my hand. Steve was behind the bar, laughing with two girls, clearly flirting. He didn't notice me. Not at first. Then I walked up, leaned forward, and whispered just loud enough for the mic to catch. Tell Lauren I hope she enjoys being broke. You'll both be unemployed by Monday. He froze. That smug, cocky grin fell right off his face. I walked out before he could speak. Later that night, I posted the video to a fake Instagram account tagged with the bar's location and captioned, "Your bartender cheats with married women and hits on customers while on shift. Stay classy." I didn't even have to wait a day. The video went semi-viral in town. By Sunday, Steve was fired. Lauren tried calling again. I had her number blocked, but her messages still came through in email form. "What are you doing? Grow up, Ethan. You're embarrassing yourself." Funny how she was the one embarrassed now. But the best part? I wasn't done. That night, I accessed our shared Google account. Lauren never bothered to change the password. Rookie mistake. I downloaded every photo from the past year, every shared note, every calendar event, and then I deleted all of it. Vacations, birthdays, holiday dinners. All gone in seconds. And just to twist the knife, I uploaded a new photo as the shared profile picture, a black screen with white text that read, "He was never here." I didn't expect what came next. Around 3 a.m., I got a text to the burner phone. No caller ID. Just one line. "We need to talk. Please." It was Emily, my daughter. The one who had sat there silently while her mother humiliated me. The one who called Steve more of a father. The one who didn't even blink when I walked out. Now she wanted to talk? No. Now she was going to listen. Because for the first time in 20 years, I finally had their attention, and I wasn't about to waste it. I didn't respond to Emily's message right away. I let her sit with it. 3 hours passed. Then 6. Then 12. By the time the second text came in, I was eating eggs and toast in a diner 3 towns over, watching rain trickle down the window like slow-moving veins. My hoodie was damp. My eyes were bloodshot. But for the first time in weeks, I felt alive. Her second text hit differently. "Dad, please. I didn't know everything. I swear. Can you at least talk to me?" That's when it clicked. The cracks were forming. I was getting to them. Lauren didn't expect this. She thought I'd throw a fit, punch a wall, cry on the porch and sleep in my truck for a few days like some cliché divorcee from a bad country song. But she didn't expect surgical revenge. She didn't expect a ghost, one that could pull strings and disappear before she could scream. Later that evening, I finally replied, "You chose silence when I needed you most. Now you get silence too." I could practically feel her panic through the screen. But this wasn't about emotional guilt anymore. This was about truth, cold, sharp, devastating truth. I wasn't just going to punish them. I was going to force them to see themselves for who they really were. So I took it up a notch. I hired a private investigator. Not to dig up new dirt. I had enough of that. I wanted photos. Public ones. Shots of Lauren and Steve leaving motels, holding hands in grocery stores, kissing in her car outside school pickup. I wanted moments that couldn't be explained away with excuses. And then, I mailed a packet to her office. To the agency's founder, a proud 60-year-old woman named Beverly who once told Lauren, "Reputation is everything in this business." Inside the envelope, the photos. A printout of Lauren's work calendar that showed off-site meetings at hotels. And a letter from a concerned husband betrayed by a woman who smiles in wedding photos for a living. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. A week later, Lauren was officially terminated. Her world, her little fantasy of control, superiority, comfort, was collapsing piece by piece. I kept watching from the shadows. Steve, unemployed and humiliated, had started selling his DJ gear online. Lauren was posting cryptic quotes on Instagram. "Sometimes storms come to clear your path. Healing isn't linear. Let go of what no longer serves you." You know the type. Spiritualized *T to mask the fact that she was spiraling. Then, just when I thought I'd seen it all, my mother called. My own mother. I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was short, shaky. "Ethan, honey, I didn't know how deep it went. I thought they were just friends at first. I never meant to hurt you. Please, call me back. I miss you." I listened to it 5 times. And then I deleted it. She made her choice the day she sat on that couch and said nothing while they gutted me like a deer. You don't get to miss someone you helped destroy. Not anymore. Back at the Airbnb, I sat down with a notebook. I flipped open to a clean page and wrote at the top. Final act. The revenge wasn't done. There was one more piece left. One more move that would make sure Lauren never recovered. And this time, it wouldn't just hurt her reputation. It would destroy her name. I waited for the perfect moment. Not when she was down, but when she thought she was climbing back up. Lauren had started damage control. She began posting carefully curated photos of her new chapter, herbal tea, sunrise yoga, a blurry photo of Steve holding a puppy, trying to look wholesome, trying to rebrand. It was almost laughable. Meanwhile, the girls had gone silent. No messages. No calls. I imagined the tension in that house growing thicker every day, Steve's fake confidence starting to crack, Lauren pacing the kitchen barefoot in those overpriced leggings, and Emily probably wondering if she had picked the wrong side. So I gave them something to talk about. Something they couldn't ignore. I sent an invitation. Not to a party, to a dinner. Printed, elegant, hand-delivered. Family restoration night. Location, Dad's old cabin. This Friday at 7 p.m. No phones. Just the truth. I made sure Lauren got hers first. Then I hand-delivered Emily and Rachel's myself, left them at their dorm mailboxes, clean and crisp. Lastly, I dropped one in my mother's mailbox. No return address. No name. But they knew. They all knew. That cabin was mine. Built with my bare hands. A place they hadn't been since before everything fell apart. A place full of memories they probably assumed I'd burn to the ground. Friday came faster than I expected. I set the table with precision. One spot for each of them. Their names carved into old pieces of what I'd found in the shed. I cooked too. Not a fancy meal, just the kind Lauren used to beg for when we were broke but happy. Baked chicken, garlic potatoes, cornbread, apple pie. The kind of food that reminds you of what you used to be. At 6:58, I heard tires on gravel. They came. All of them. Lauren walked in first, hair tied back. I scanning the place like she expected an ambush. Steve followed, looking smaller than I remembered. No smug grin this time, just tension in his jaw and eyes that didn't meet mine. Emily and Rachel trailed behind, heads low. And finally, my mother, in her old tan coat, holding a bottle of wine like it was a peace offering. Ethan, Lauren said carefully, "What is this?" I motioned to the table. "Dinner." They sat. Awkward. Silent. I let them eat. Let them squirm through every bite. Then I stood, held up my glass, water, nothing fancy, and said, "Let's get to it." Lauren sighed. "Ethan, if this is some kind of guilt trip." "No," I interrupted. "This is a mirror." I pulled out the manila folder. Dropped it on the table. Inside, a full report from the private investigator. Screenshots of her texts to Steve, mocking me. Copies of the bank transfers. The employment termination letter from her agency. Steve's firing confirmation. A notarized letter removing them all from my will. Lauren's face drained of color. Steve flinched. My mother blinked rapidly, her fork frozen midair. Emily slowly pushed her plate away. "I didn't call you here to ask for anything," I said, voice calm. "I called you here so you'd understand. This is not your home anymore. None of you." Lauren tried to speak. I raised a hand. "Don't," I said. "Don't insult me with excuses." Then I turned to Steve. "You took my wife. My family. My life." He squirmed. "I'm not asking for it back. I'm making sure you can never enjoy it." Lastly, I looked at my daughters. "I gave you everything. And you let her turn you against me. I hope he's a good father, because from this day on, I'm done." I walked to the door, opened it wide. "You can leave now." One by one, they got up. No one argued. No one cried. They just left. All except Emily. She stood by the door, eyes glassy. "Dad?" I didn't know. I nodded once, then shut the door behind her and locked it. Behind me, the cabin was silent. But inside me, a storm was finally starting to settle. The night after the dinner at the cabin, I didn't sleep. Not because of regret, but because of peace. The kind of stillness that only comes when justice is served, not by the courts, but by your own hand. They came expecting closure. What they got was exposure. To themselves. To each other. To the lies they'd spun like silk around their fragile little bubble. Now that bubble had burst. But one loose end still lingered. Steve. See, with Lauren, I had nothing left to say. With my daughters, I had given them the bitter truth they chose to ignore. But Steve? Steve needed one final lesson. So I paid him a visit. I knew where he'd end up, his cousin's old rental off Grant Street. A broken-down duplex with missing siding and a mailbox duct-taped shut. I waited until nightfall. Parked 2 blocks away. Hood up. Boots crunching gravel as I made my way to the door. I didn't knock. I kicked. The door swung open and slammed into the wall with a bang. Steve stumbled out of a back room in a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt that said, "Good vibes only." Perfect. "Jesus, Ethan," he started. But I was already in front of him. He raised his hands, eyes wide. "Look, man, if this is about Lauren." I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the wall so hard a picture frame crashed to the floor. "You think this is about Lauren?" I growled. "You think I care about that smug parasite anymore?" He tried to speak again, but I cut him off. "You were my best friend. You knew everything. Every fight. Every doubt. You were there the night I proposed. You helped me build our nursery. And the whole time you were watching her like a goddamn predator waiting for the cage door to open." Steve's face twisted, part fear, part shame, part stubborn stupidity. "She came to me," he muttered. "You were distant, man. Cold. She needed." I punched the wall next to his head. He flinched. "Don't you dare blame me for your weakness." He nodded slowly, swallowing hard. Okay. I let him go. He slumped to the ground like the coward he was. And then I told them the real reason I came. Stay away from my daughters. You were never their father. You never will be. And if I hear even a whisper of you playing dad again, I won't knock next time. His silence was enough. I walked out, leaving the door open, the night air swallowing his pride. Back at the Airbnb, I sat on the floor with a notepad. I wrote 2 letters. One to Rachel, one to Emily. Short, honest, sharp. Not full of sweet memories or guilt-tripping sadness, just the truth. One day, when you're older, you'll look back at this and realize silence was your choice. I didn't leave you. You stood behind the people who broke me. When you're ready to talk like adults, not Lauren's daughters, but as my blood, maybe I'll answer. Until then, take care. I mailed them that morning. No return address. Let it simmer. Let them think. Because I wasn't here for comfort anymore. I was here to end this chapter completely. The final piece? A storage unit. Inside it, everything from the house, family photos, wedding albums, birthday videos, all digitized and placed on a hard drive. I kept it not for them, but for me. To remember what was once real. Before it all rotted. Then I donated the physical stuff to charity. Lauren's wedding dress? Shredded. Gone. Ashes in a bin behind the unit. I left town that day with nothing but a duffel bag, the hard drive, and a bank account they couldn't touch. I wasn't running anymore. I had simply disappeared. Exactly what they said they wanted. 5 years. That's how long it took for the pain to stop tasting like blood in my mouth every morning. I built a new life, brick by brick, in a town where no one knew my name. No one looked at me with pity or judgment. I got a job restoring old cabins fitting, right? Rebuilding things people gave up on. I stayed off social media. Changed my number again. Left no breadcrumbs. For 5 years, they didn't know where I was. And that silence? It ate at them far more than yelling ever could. Then one morning, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, please, just read. It was Emily. Dad. I know it's been years. I don't expect anything. But Mom's sick. Really sick. I just thought you should know. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I felt sorry for Lauren, but because I felt nothing. Not a flicker of emotion. Not even hate. She had drained me dry long before illness came for her. And that's when I realized I won. Not because I destroyed them. Not because I vanished. But because I healed. They didn't. They were still choking on the ashes of the fire they started. So I did something I never thought I'd do again. I wrote one final letter. To Lauren. But not to comfort her. To remind her. Lauren. You once stood in my house, our house, and told me I'd been replaced. You said Steve was more of a father. You laughed while my daughters called another man dad. You celebrated my erasure like it was a birthday party. And now? You want me to care that your time is running out? I don't. But I want you to know this. I didn't just vanish. I rebuilt. I thrived. I became the man you always feared I would without you. You tried to bury me. But you forgot. I'm the one who planted the seed. I hope when you close your eyes at night, you see my face. Not out of love. Out of regret. Ethan. I printed it, signed it, and had it delivered to her bedside through a courier. No return name. No sender info. Just truth. I never heard back. Didn't need to. A month later, I got another email from Emily. She passed. I just wanted to tell you. She read the letter. And she cried. Good. Let her tears water the grave she dug herself. As for Steve, he ended up in rehab. Lost his license after a DUI and got caught stealing cash from his new girlfriend's purse. Karma moves slowly, but it always lands. And my daughters? Emily and Rachel eventually found me. Not through lawyers or police, through effort. Through growth. They apologized. And I listened. But I didn't jump into their arms like a movie ending. I made them earn my forgiveness. Year by year. Conversation by conversation. They learned who I was, not through memories, but through presence. And as for me, I never remarried. Never needed to. Peace is a quieter kind of love. Now, when I wake up in the mornings, I don't hear Lauren's voice. I don't feel the sting of betrayal. I hear birds. I smell pine. I taste coffee brewed slow over a real fire. They told me to accept her cheating. I didn't. I vanished. And 5 years later, I let them see exactly what I became without them. Free.